Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 329 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by a very special guest on today's episode of the podcast. You know him as the creator of Mao Mao, Heroes of Pure Heart. Welcome to the show, the wonderful Parker Simmons. How's it going, Parker?
Thank you for having me. Jazzed to be here. I'm jazzed.
Absolutely, I am as well. This is actually a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a while. We have you here, Parker, today to talk all about Nintendo operating systems. This might sound a little dry, but I've been doing research into this, and I actually find it quite fascinating.
Oh, it's anything but.
Yes.
This is a rich and storied history.
Yeah,
Not so much anymore.
Right.
Like
I mean, I think that's part of the conversation, right? It's like people are often talking about how Nintendo nowadays has kind of lost some of their charm. And I think it all comes down to the home menu is what people are referring to when they talk about that kind of thing. And so we're going to be kind of breaking down like basically a brief history of Nintendo operating systems, going all the way from the Famicom Disk System to the Switch 2 and discussing how Nintendo has changed as a company over those years. In addition to that, we've got lots of news and rumors that we talk about this week. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is getting an official vinyl release. That's actually pretty exciting. I'm going to have to probably pick that up. Animal Crossing is getting a Switch 2 update and a bevy of new content for both the Switch 1 and Switch 2. And then we've got a lot of non-Nintendo news as well. It's going to run the gamut. But before we get into that, how are you doing, Parker? You've been having a good week. How was your past week?
I'm good, man. It's great. It's, it was Halloween and October flies by, but, my kid got to do a million Halloween-y things. There's trunk or treat and stuff at the park, and then actually trick-or-treating around the neighborhood. And then last couple weeks, I animated some Ghostbuster parody shorts that are online on YouTube and TikTok, and had a pretty good reaction. It's just an excuse for me to do voice impressions and animate on the cheap. But it's great, man. I love October. It's a great month. I'm sad it's done, but now it's November.
Yeah.
And
no nut.
We're cruising through to the end of the year. It'll be my birthday in about 6 days. Last year's birthday.
Okay, very good. Happy birthday. I feel like I could say happy birthday now.
Yeah, we're within a week. We're within 6 days.
Very good.
Last year, absolute alcohol poisoning because my birthday was like on the election day.
Oh.
Not a like super great day.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this year is a somewhat better birthday, but I got to be honest, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll see. Yeah,
turning 39, not quite 40 yet.
Last year on election day, I was in Nara Deer Park in Japan, and all my friends were having an existential crisis. Like you're just on the timeline, and I'm like petting deers, and they're eating out of my hands, and it was.
Did any of them ram you though? Because some of them are.
No, none of them rammed me. They were all very kind for the most part. I mean, a couple of them were like really needy and clingy, but that's deer for you. But I hope we still have a country. I hope we've got a couple inspiring picks up for election this week. So I'm hoping that some of those actually go
stuff.
Through. Absolutely.
We'll see.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I've been chilling. I did on Halloween proper. I went to do some karaoke, which was fun,
nice.
And went to like a couple bars with a friend. But this is like the third weekend of Halloween parties. There was like a Halloween party last week, and then also one the week before, because I think everybody was trying to like not be on the day.
You don't want to compete.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy the season is done, to be honest.
You're Halloweened out.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people like ride really hard for Halloween. I don't really count myself among those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like into it. But for me, Halloween is my sister's birthday more than anything. So happy birthday to my sister, and happy birthday to my friend Baylor as well. They share a birthday.
Nice.
But we'll get into more of sort of what we've been playing at the end of the episode. Before that, I'd like to do some shout outs to last week's episode. We had a really fun, this is kind of like part 2 of a Nintendo operating system couplet of episodes here, because last week we talked all about game chat etiquette and 15 updates that game chat could really use. Cool service, but it's got glaring issues that I think Nintendo needs to fix. We had on that episode Brian Bonnet and AVK, Alex von Kirkendall, and we had some comments. One in the YouTube was in response to something that AVK said, saying, "I have the memory of a baby Ditto," which I thought was a pretty cute offhanded way to say that you've smoked a little bit too much weed. And then over there on Discord, Emma said, "Okay, hear me out. Potential game chat function that would be socially terrible, but I really want a Pokemon-specific invite when you could just say you've been spotted by trainer Emma and it just makes you Pokemon battle," which is
that's cool,
crazy.
It's cool, but I would never accept.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I've never know. That was kind of like the crux of that whole episode. Is like, do you just send out cold calls like on game chat? Like, is that appropriate? That's taking it to the next level, Emma. I think we're all into that. That's 3DS era Nintendo, which we will be getting into later in this episode. But
different time,
absolutely. If you would like to be shouted out on the show, ladies and gentlemen, please just drop us a line. Leave us a comment on the YouTube version here. We'll go ahead and like and subscribe while you're over there as well. You can hit us up on social media or on Discord. Just in reaction to anything we talk about this episode, we'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll shout you out next episode. If you could also share the show with a friend on social media or word of mouth, post it somewhere on Reddit, we would really appreciate it. We'll have more information about places you can reach us at the end of the show. But I think with that out of the way, let's get into the news, Parker. How's that feel to you?
It feels incredible. I'm ready. We have a jingle ready.
We actually don't. We have jingles. We have jingles for main topic and games we're playing. We never have a jingle for news. Sound off in the comments if you need a jingle for the news, because that's probably something we should.
Just a shitty Don Bardo impression and the classic
Jason Sudeikis. All right. Anyway. News. We're going to start off with talks that we brought up at the beginning there about the Breath of the Wild vinyl box set. This is coming pretty soon after Nintendo sort of put out a first-party release with the Super Mario World vinyl box set that was also released. That was very expensive, and it was kind of also at certain retailers. This is straight up being sold like on the My Nintendo store. You can get this online. It's great. Yeah, I'm a member of this like video game vinyl collectors like bootleg Facebook group, and I buy like a lot of soundtracks. These are just bootleg vinyls that are like, a ton of care and art and detail are put into all the releases. But I think people only do that because there is no official way to actually purchase these soundtracks on vinyl. So it's really cool to see Nintendo fully endorsing this. Looks like there's going to be a 8 LP edition, which is going to run you about $200. It's pretty freaking expensive, but I mean, for a prestige collection like this, it's not that bad. The 2 LP edition is going for $50. That's probably going to be the one that I pick up. Are you interested in this at all, Parker? Are you like a vinyl collector? I have a
shelf of video game soundtracks. I mean, it's the only music I'll listen to. That's just where I'm at. That's what I love. I'm a video game music aficionado. I've got a lot of friends in that space. And a lot of the composers we worked with on Mao Mao are in the video game music sort of industry. It seems odd to me that we're focusing on vinyl. It's clearly some kind of niche. I think a CD is just fine. I'm not sure. I guess this is specifically them branching out to that. I will say the two sort of things I think of when I hear they're doing this, and I'm like, well, this will be a test to see whether or not we do more. I'm like, okay, well, put your stuff out on CD and also get really aggressive with that Nintendo Music app. And I think you don't have much to worry about. I'm a little confused as to why, Mario Kart World is taking so long.
Yes, I agree.
I want that soundtrack yesterday. I don't need it on vinyl. My problem with vinyl is it's huge, takes up a lot of space. I'm cool with a CD. I'm even cool buying like a digital soundtrack. But I think this is good news. The thing I thought, and I don't even mean to necessarily be snarky, but I see the track list and I'm like, there's 8 discs worth of music in Breath of the Wild? That doesn't. I recall there being
like 5 piano notes.
5 town. There's like 5 town themes and some light piano work, and it is appropriate. My wife and I argue about this all the time. She's like, I hate it. You bring back my overworld theme. You bring back, and I'm like, yes, I understand that, but I also get what they're going for here. It's a complete stylistic switch up. They want you to be able to be at one with nature and hear all the sounds and stuff. So it is less intrusive, I would say. And frankly, on an overworld that big, hearing one theme for 300 hours,
Yeah.
it's going to get old. So I understand it. I get it. But my point still stands. I can't believe there's 8 vinyl discs worth of music.
I don't think
how?
it's just that it's there's not quite enough like variety for me to like buy. Like recently I picked up like a vinyl set of all the Soichi Terada like Ape Escape soundtracks. And like that was like 4 records. And I'm like, yeah, there's enough like variety in all these songs to really justify this. Yes, exactly. And when I'm trying to get my jungle on or my D&B, I put that on,
I've got the soundtrack. I'm staring at it right now for the Link's Awakening remake sitting over here.
Oh, right.
That's a beautiful release.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic rework of that. And right next to it is the Mario RPG remake soundtrack. I waited like a year and a half for them to release that. I think I got to do an I Told You So. Some fan was like, oh, they're never releasing. Good luck. They'll never release it. And I'm like, we'll see. And it's sitting right here. So to that person, fuck you, man. It is great. I was right. You were wrong. And there it sits. But I think there definitely is, it's not a level playing field right now in the video game music release world. There are some companies that take it much more seriously. And there are some that are sort of like, well, maybe we'll do a soundtrack release. Maybe we won't. And I think the people who are most on top of it, believe it or not, are Pokemon Company.
Right.
They're on top of releasing their music on all digital platforms. And then I think they even did a thing a couple of years ago where they're like, yeah, you can use our music in your videos royalty free. We don't care.
Yeah.
In fact, here's the library you can access. And it's like, this is incredible. So yeah, it's a weird, video game music's a weird space. I wish them much luck with this, but I can see why they were like, we're also going to do a 2 LP edition.
Yeah.
Because it's very likely you just want these songs.
Yeah. It's like I love video game music vinyls, and I do like vinyls. I think like personally, like if I'm going to buy music,
it's a thing you have to get into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's sadly it's bitten me. I've kind of lost my mind, and I'm certainly losing all my money on it. But
I'm trying to put up some defenses around my wallet.
Yeah, pick your battles. Pick your battles. But, either way, it's cool. I think this is a great thing, and I hope to see a lot more.
It's awesome.
Of this, but we'll go ahead and move on to the next bit of news here, and that involves the Metroid Prime retrospective book that came out. It's called A Visual Retrospective. This just dropped the other day, finally delivered to me. I remember ordering it like January or something like that. It was supposed to come out this summer. It got delayed. I finally got my copy in. It's a beautiful edition. I love art books. I love seeing concept art. I think one of the things I really love about Retro Studios is they always have bits of concept art in all of their games. Like I think even all the unlockables in Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze are just all their concept art. So having it tangibly is really nice. Are you interested?
Here's a painting of one pig.
Yeah, exactly. Are you a Metroid Prime guy, Parker?
My wife is a huge Metroid fan, but more the 2D ones. But we both played all the Metroid Prime games, and we played the remaster, which was shockingly beautiful.
Yeah,
of that first game. But I gotta say, and I'm telling you, she's the biggest Metroid fan in the world. Both her and I saw this and we're like, pass.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're like, I saw your concept art. It's in the game.
Yeah.
I can boot it up right now. I've got 100% file. I'll just boot it up and take a look at it. But I also think it definitely is going to appeal to a specific type of fan. And I don't know if this is necessarily true, but I get the feeling that Metroid fans are split along Prime and 2D series lines. And I've followed the 2D series as well. I feel like I played the first 3 Prime games and they got this new one coming out. And I'm like, unless you are moving the story forward in any possible way, I could not care less about what's going on. This is before she was,
Yeah. Well,
she just turned into a Metroid, dude. She turned into a Metroid, and now I'm worried about her.
Yeah.
What's next? It's like watching a TV show, and then they go to the next episode, and they're like, it's a flashback with zero consequence on the next. I'm like, oh, just move the story forward. I don't care about this.
It is confusing, even where the timelines are, because it's like between Metroid 1 and 2.
And then you have the Metroid. Well, he's one of the co-creators of Metroid. I think it's Tanaka-san, but he's like vehemently denies Prime's canonicity, and then Nintendo overruled him, and they're like, "Shut up!" And then they banished him to Tomodachi Life jail.
Well,
I think people don't even know that like the co-creator of Metroid had to go work on Tomodachi Life and like Miitopia for a while, and I really think it was a punishment. And then he came back with Metroid Dread, and they're like, and Samus Returns, and they're like, you can be out of Tomodachi.
Well, now
can be out of Tomodachi.
He's all in on He's all in on Famicom Detective Club now. He did Emio this.
I gotta tell you, I'm sure you guys talked about it. That was so good.
That was a great game. Yeah,
I was like, it was a little slow moving at first, but once it really locked in, and by the time you hit that last, your reward for sticking it out, I was like, I'm disturbed beyond words. It was so good. I hope he gets to do more of those too. He's clearly a passionate creator. Again, if you're willing to sit there and fight with your multi-billion-dollar parent company and say, no, this shit isn't canon. Yeah. I determine what's real in Samus's world. And they're like, no, you don't. Then you're a passionate dude. Yeah.
And to make the choice to be like, I'm going to make 3 Famicom Detective Club games in a row. It's just like, cool. Okay. Hell yeah. I think they're cool letting him have his own little corner of Nintendo where he's working on visual novels.
I hope that continues. I think that's what makes them a special company.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Is this Dark Horse doing this?
No, it's a company called Piggyback Interactive. So this is the first
Interesting.
I've had from
usually
them.
Dark Horse doing this.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a nice collection.
That's a new development.
I flipped through
interesting.
Yeah. We were showing their trailer there on the video version, but we'll go ahead and move on to the next bit of news. And this is kind of a big one. This one really dropped out of nowhere. This was a Nintendo Today drop. They put this out on their app, but Animal Crossing is getting a 3.0 update. You might remember, I think it was in 2023. They were like, this will be the final content update for Animal Crossing. And then here we are in the year of our Lord 2025 getting a giant feature update for the base game and a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Some of the things that are going to be in the Switch 2 edition are improved visuals. I think it goes up to 4K. Still locked at 30 FPS, sadly, but you can use mouse controls now. There's a megaphone. You can play up to 12 players on an island. Hopefully you all don't have to fly in one at a time with 12 people on an island anymore. That seems like a nightmare. It'd be really cool if they fix some of that. But then some of the updates to the 3.0 version includes like a new resort hotel thing. It's very similar to the DLC, but it's part of the base game now. There's more storage. No
DLC needed.
Yeah, no DLC needed, even though it is free with NSO, I believe. There's like Dream Islands or Slumber Islands, I think they're called, where you basically have like free reign and you could have your friends over and you could all work on it together. So it's like, before it was very much like, oh, you can come visit my island, but you can't do any like, terraforming or whatever. So there's lots of cool stuff. I think it looks like they're going to be bringing back the classics games that you can play on the consoles. There's like a Lego crossover, Zelda crossover. What do you think about this? Were you a big Animal Crossing guy?
I'm super into Animal Crossing. I've been into it since they launched the first one on GameCube. I had to convince my siblings to play it. They're like, what is this? And I'm like, look, you trusted me on Harvest Moon, right? Because they were like, ooh, farming. And then my sister, stole the game from me and played it all night. So I was like, trust me, you liked that, you're going to like this. And then it, became an insane match. And that one, like if you paid off your debt, you got a statue in the town square. So we were throwing physical blows at each other over who got to play the game next.
Do you have your own memory card, I guess? And you just
well, I think we're all in the same town. We're all in the same town.
Okay. Right.
And this was back when that's how it worked. It was everybody and you had the 4 houses.
Right.
So I've been there. I'm ride or die. Been there since the beginning. I'm one of those fans who thinks that all the NPCs are way better when they're meaner and more interesting.
Summer, one of our old hosts, agrees with you on that one.
Yeah. They were just, now I'm like, you've all been lobotomized, dude. Why am I talking to you? But I will say most of these things are awesome, but I can't help but recognize a recurring theme here. I'm like, Megaphone, that's from the 3DS game. Dream World and Slumber Islands, that's from the 3DS game. Nintendo items with playable games, that's from the original. And from the 3DS game, you got a Wii U and a 3DS that had mini games on them. Crossover items with Amiibo from Legend of Zelda, that was from the 3DS game. You could have medley. So I'm like, again, my issue with and any Animal Crossing fan will tell you this, my issue with New Horizons is I'm like, you stripped down the 3DS game and into like several parts and then sold it back to me. And it's really funny. I think it was like Donkey who said, I played Animal Crossing for 100 hours and I love it. My wife played it for 3,000 hours and she hates it. You know what I mean? It's obviously there's a lot. Obviously this comes from a place of great passion and great love. But I would say that this overall, I just want to say this before I forget. This is bad news. All of this is terrible news. Do you know why this is terrible news? because it means they weren't working on a new Animal Crossing. This is terrible news.
Yeah.
We're doomed. I don't want this.
Yeah.
Get to work on the next one. I don't want this one anymore.
I agree. I think it's kind of too little it's like too little too late, you know. It's like we're getting this like well after everybody's done with it. And I think it was like we've talked about this too, like this game is made to be played like in tiny little chunks, like once per day. No, and when we were all locked in for the pandemic, we all just mainlined it. We were just like, it's like we were just playing it constantly all day. We like all met up online and like played together. This like all these updates with the camera and everything, like that would have been so cool, like back in the pandemic.
A long time ago. Yeah, same bulk craft. I think people noticed that there might be bulk crafting. There is this one finally. I'm like, too little, too late.
Yeah, exactly.
I've moved on. I'm over here playing Guardians of Azimuth.
That said, it is only a $5 upgrade for the Switch 2. So I think like if it was more than that, I think I would have been like, I'm not doing that. You know, and it's optional. But it's like
is already improved for the Switch 2. All you'd be getting there is, you know, some niceties. I am kind of shocked, and I will say that I feel every single. I mean, I'm sure everybody would say this, but every single Switch 2 upgrade should be free. And the most they should have done is maybe it's free if you have Nintendo Switch Online Plus or whatever.
Right.
I still don't know why we're charging for any of this. You already charged me $500.
Right.
Now give me what I paid you for.
I mean, I think if it's a resolution bump and like a frame rate upgrade, like that should absolutely be free. They're just like they're packaging it with. Like
that has been their strategy,
you know. Their
strategy's been like, but we added a few more things, and I'm like, I don't want that. Just give it to me. I think we've been, I don't know, maybe we've just been spoiled by a more generous Nintendo who needed us, and now they're like, we don't need you. I'm like, you know what I feel? You know that dude who was like, I'm an NYU film school graduate, sucker. I feel like
Bob Dylan guy.
Yeah, I feel like that dude, but I'm like, I'm a 3DS ambassador program member, sucker.
Absolutely. I like the upgrades. I like, especially because I've got the Switch 2. It feels like a new toy. I like when those games are in 1080. I just really wish there was a toggle in order to just flip games into like docked mode, essentially. So you don't need an upgrade, you know, but I think the reason they don't have a feature like that is because they want you to buy these upgrades, right? So it's annoying.
We're still in this. It also is just a reminder to me that we're still in this like transitionary pubescent stage of the console, and I'm done with it. Let's fly. I'm done, man. It's time for Goku to come back from Snake Road and show us the Kaioken, because I'm done. It's time to kick Vegeta's ass. I'm done waiting. I can't take another 30 episodes.
Of just him flying to his next destination.
Chop. Motherfucking chop. No, let's see what your system can do.
I feel you. I think it's going to be, I'm at least going to dip my toe back in. I'm sure we'll do an episode on some of the updates whenever they come out. It is coming out in January, like I said. And then I think the last thing I'll say on this is just like, I have a feeling that Nintendo might finally be balking a little bit at some of the pricing increases they've done. I think this being $5 Switch upgrade, that's the first time we've seen that. And I think also like it's going to be $65 in box. And I think that is the first time they've ever sold a game at $65. Yeah. So it's like they're starting to kind of follow through on some of like what Doug Bowser said about that like variable pricing. Exactly. So I hope
he fell on that sword and then now he's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now we've got Pikmin Girl. Anyway, we're going to move on to our next bit of news. And that is moving away from Nintendo. And this is talking about Rockstar. So we're going to be talking a little bit about some layoffs in the industry, as we sadly have been having to do every week pretty much for the past 2 years. This time there were about reportedly, according to Bloomberg, I think there was an article from Jason Schreier, that 30 to 40 employees have been laid off from the Grand Theft Auto 6 team that were allegedly trying to form a union. So these are all people that were in the process of forming a new union that were laid off. And so everybody there is basically like, this is obvious union busting. There's no other way to look at this, right? Obviously, the people that are actually doing the firing can list any reason as to why they're firing employees. So stuff like this happens all the time, but it's kind of like masked, in red tape from companies and whatever. But, whenever you try to fight stuff like this, that's when you run into like, oh, okay, wait, these gigantic corporations like have lawyers to protect from this sort of thing. So
it's harder to fight back against too, because I know the federal government now is like, well, we want to shut down the National Labor Relations Board.
Right.
We'll just delete that entirely. So it's like, well, what recourse do you have beyond getting your own legal counsel and suing them for that? But, union busting in and of itself is not necessarily a crime, but it could be considered a series of, other crimes, like, you'd call it retaliation in a hostile work environment, right. All these sort of things.
Well,
whether you could prove that, who knows, but it's more time, money, and effort, and they're counting on you not fighting back.
Right. You're 100% correct on that. It's just it's a process of wearing you down. What makes this even more complicated is that this is in the UK. So this was part of Take-Two's, like they have offices everywhere. This game is being worked on globally, but these were workers that were in the UK. So this was...
It says Canada too.
Yeah. Okay, UK and Canada, you're right. And so that was the Independent Workers Union of Great Britain, I think, came forward to bring awareness to this. So I know, like, specifically in the UK, their labor laws are a bit less ironclad as we have here, even though those are constantly trying to be stripped away in the US. Right, exactly. So it's rough out there. And I know that there have been lots of issues throughout the industry when it comes to unionization in Britain. Yeah, you're right about Canada. I didn't even realize that there. But
which is
who
weird.
knows what it's
weird
over there. But this is obviously still a developing story. You hate to see this. We actually have an interview coming up kind of soon that I've been working on booking on the show with the UVW, the United Video Game Workers General Union here in the U.S. So I'd love to get their opinions on this whenever we get to it. But you've been you're a union man, right? I mean,
I'm in two different unions. I'm in the Animation Guild and I'm in SAG, just the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA.
For voice acting and whatever.
Yeah, and it's important stuff. And I'll tell you, I think the bottom line is, like, there, definitely people I've met starting out who are like, oh, do I care about this? Do I care about that? And I'm like, let me tell you something. When you get that sweet union healthcare and your copay is $0, if you've had surgery and you're like, what do I owe? And the answer is nothing. You don't want to go back. It's good shit. And then you get a pension, and not only a pension, but after a certain number of hours, you're vested, meaning your retirement is guaranteed at a certain level. Why wouldn't you want that? It's collective bargaining. It's about showing that you have power because you're one of many. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's also the basis for this country. You pluribus unum. So there's nothing more American than being part of a union. It's good stuff. But this is, we'll see. Hopefully these people can fight back. I know nothing about how unions work in Canada and in Great Britain. I got to imagine there's some similarities, but I wish these people all the luck. And I think if they could prove, if they've been smart about keeping a paper trail on some of the stuff, maybe they can fight back. But I will say 9 times out of 10, when stuff like this happens, the company does it because they know they can get away with it.
It's also why it's so important when you're first starting to organize to keep all of that out of work chats, do it off of company time and whatnot. But
and most unions have rules about that.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we'll move on for now, but we'll be following this as we hear more about it in the coming weeks. Hopefully this can get handled appropriately. But moving on to some more firings, this time at Amazon. There has been talk of about 30,000 potential jobs being cut, which is insane at Amazon. I think the number has gone down to 14,000, which is
still crazy.
Such a small amount of people. Thank God. A lot of that is coming from their gaming division. So a lot of people aren't really aware even that Amazon has their own whole gaming retailer to kind of go with Steam or go against Steam. But they have Luna, which is their cloud gaming service. That is being pretty much gutted right now. Also, a lot of their development staff on games like New World, they're stopping content development on that MMO entirely. And I think the status of the Lord of the Rings MMO and other games have also been halted, which means that they're also probably canceled.
I hadn't heard about any of this to begin with. So I'm reading this and they're like talking about a AI Snoop Dogg avatar, and I'm like, what the heck? What? And Luna, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, this is...
like, well, no wonder they're cutting jobs. I've never heard of this shit, man.
Yes. I mean,
it's
Amazon has been pumping money into this for a really long time without this is kind of also what happened with Google with Stadia. It's like whenever like the big tech companies try to like insert themselves into gaming,
we could do it.
Yeah, I think gamers can smell that shit from a mile away, and they just
the Nokia
don't
Engage.
fuck with it. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to keep that at all times. I want to see if I can buy an Engage, meet with some of these people, and it's like, hey, you ever heard of this? Slide it across the desk.
I would like that. Or
what did they call that thing? The PSP Go or whatever?
Yeah, the Xperia Play. They had that one.
It was like digital only, and GameStop's like, we won't carry it. And Target's like, we won't carry it. And they're like, well, if nobody sells it,
if a tree falls in the woods and it's a PSP,
if a PSP falls in the woods,
who knows? But I think like you said, this is all AI related. I think that recently they were like, we're going to be going all in on AI, and that means like basically changing our back end in order to make things more efficient and blah 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 blah. And so this is just what happens. Like we are seeing like the
put it all on red, baby.
Yes, it is the birth of the death of capitalism right now with the AI bubble popping, and I think that this is kind of one of the first casualties of that.
Harbinger.
It's going to be an epic pop of this AI bubble when it eventually does happen. I'm not excited to see what happens to the world because it's going to be chaos, but maybe it'll lead to the hard.
I know. I read some crazy number that's like, 80% of the U.S.'s wealth is currently tied up in the AI market, and I was like, 80.
Yep.
You mean what do you mean? So if this shit fails, we're
agrarian
headed for an economic collapse? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, there's kind of no other way forward. That's why everybody's so aggressive. I'm like, but this is an obvious con.
Yeah.
There's nothing here. It's like saying, all right, guys, here's how the family is going to make it through the next, year alive. Oh, Dad's got a plan. Thank God, Dad. And he's like, I found an old washerwoman in town. I sold her my last cow. How much did you get, Dad? Well, I got these magic beans. And then they swarm on him and they kill him and they eat Dad. I don't know.
In the end of that story, at least you get a fucking beanstalk. Out of this one, I don't know that you get any.
No, my story is set in reality, and it's like a weird Swedish new wave black and white.
Oh, okay.
No beanstalk. Dad dies.
Okay,
He's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he believed magic beans were real. They're not real.
Anyway, well, let's move on to the next bit of news here. Looks like the Call of Duty movie, which, again, let me remind you, famously turned down Steven Spielberg to direct and produce the movie, has found its director. And that would be Peter Berg, who was the director of Friday Night Lights. And it's going to be written by Taylor Sheridan. Taylor Sheridan has written some pretty good movies when it comes to like Sicario, Hell or High Water. Also has been the producer of like Yellowstone and 1917 or whatever.
He's who you call when you want an old tough white guy movie.
Yes, exactly. He's become Paramount's like go-to boy.
Movie.
Yes.
Well, they just let his ass go, and who snapped him up? Universal, Peacock, somebody?
I'm not sure why. I know Paramount is doing this movie, so maybe they've worked it all. Maybe they've worked it out. But
Peacock or Netflix or somebody just offered him some crazy overall deal, and it's like, isn't that guy? Doesn't he make like 90% of the shows on Paramount?
Regardless, he's like the only person that's keeping any of like the Austin film production like
it's keeping the lights on,
community employed right now. Like I know so many of my friends work on Taylor Sheridan Productions, but
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what is this going to be? I mean, like it could be kind of cool, but I don't like have my hopes very high. I'm not a huge Call of Duty fan. I think that like a Steven Spielberg Call of Duty movie like sounds
it might actually be an interesting movie.
Yeah. But this feels like it's probably going to be closer to Modern Warfare than like the kind of World War II thing that Spielberg probably wanted to do. Do you have any interest in this or just video game live action adaptations in general?
Yeah, I couldn't care less about this.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. I don't know. Have Michael Bay direct it for all I care.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Hey, knock yourself out. I won't be there.
Yeah. I know I've seen.
I don't want to yuck your yum. Have fun. Have fun, boys.
Yeah. This is going to create an entirely new breed of incel that is as of yet unknown. But I do love a lot of the like kind of animation stuff you've done with like Zelda. I love the, I mean, this is very different obviously, but I've seen a lot of the posts that you've done where you like take the instruction book art and turn it into animation. That shit's really cool. People should definitely check that out. Watch that instead of the Call of Duty movie.
Check that out. There's also this guy, I wish I knew his name on YouTube, who did that with the first 3 Zelda games. And I will say his Link to the Past animation wasn't quite as good as mine.
Wow.
But he did what I wanted to do, which is like, man, I should have taken these animations and made a false commercial.
Yeah, I saw that on YouTube.
He did it with all three games, and they look really, really great.
Mm-hmm.
I was just putting them down to be facetious. They all look really, really good.
So no, there's
check
room,
them out.
There's room for everybody in this.
I'm just teasing, but he's that dude's work is incredible. So check that out. I think there really is a push for a lot of people who are like, you know what, I can make my dreams come true, man. I want this image. I've wanted this to move around ever since I was a kid. I can
just do it.
Quite literally make that happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy doing that kind of thing, and I think it's sort of that idea is catching fire because I've seen that dude and I've seen some other people take like the Yoichi Kotabe artwork for Mario and make that move around, and it's interesting stuff. I like seeing more and more of that because I think there's an aesthetic from that period that almost seems, kind of untouchable and somewhat mysterious. And so to see that replicated, it's not just nostalgic. It's like a little bit magical.
Yeah. I agree.
Like, these images that always felt like they were moving can move.
Or were from something that was fully animated.
And that was another idea I had where I was like, I almost wanted to run it through like a series of filters and convince people that I had found a trailer for like an OVA from the 90s. And they'd be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, those are just stills from the anime, but they never released it. Here's the Canadian dub, I'm really sorry about that, princess.
Anyway, that's good to see. I'm glad. Definitely, we should collab on a Zelda show. Fuck this live action thing. There was a few articles going around. Like I did an interview with this website called Zelda Dungeon, and they were like talking to me about what they would want to see, what I would want to see in a Zelda anime. I guess because I worked on Castlevania. And then that went through like a game of telephone with all these different like video game news sites that ended up being like David Howe, director of Castlevania, is making Zelda
you're like,
show.
That's
I'm
not...
like, hold up. If anyone's doing it, it's probably Parker.
Yeah. You're like, I'm just chatting about this stuff. I mean, I'm actually, why they're doing the live action thing, I think that it was a little confusing, but it's one of those decisions that it delights me because I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I'm like, animation would have been a slam dunk, another $1 billion. And this is actually a risk. I thought the Illumination thing, it's very good. It's, it made money. And like, you can argue until you're blue in the face, it made $1 billion. Yeah. It's one of the most successful animated movies of all time.
Yeah. It's enjoyable.
And I feel like they play, when we saw those casting announcements, a lot of people were laughing because they're like, you're playing it comically safe with this casting. It's like this celebrity, that celebrity, and it worked. And when I see this, they're like, hey, couple of no-name kids, you've never heard of them. We got the Planet of the Apes guy doing it.
Right.
It's going to be high fantasy, like a fucking 80s movie. And I'm like,
I'm down.
I really want to see this. I'm like,
down.
This is a shocking idea in the way that like Tim Burton's Superman would have been shocking. I'm like,
right.
I'm happy that you guys are going to take a swing. I think that's my view on it. I think animated Zelda. And here's the other thing that
door's still open for animated.
I think what people don't understand is the door's still very much open. And I think with the addition of Nintendo Pictures, who are actually working on animated shorts, I didn't know if they were. They were a subsidiary who did mocap for other people for a long time, and Nintendo bought them. And I'm like, oh, people are like, they're called Nintendo Pictures. They're going to do animated content. And I'm like,
well, they did the Pikmin. They did the Pikmin show.
Yeah. And then that was the reveal. Because I was like, maybe they will, maybe they won't. And there's a storied history of Nintendo doing animated collaborations. It happened a lot during the Smash Brothers 4 era. There was that like Kid Icarus animation they did. And I think Studio IG did one of the Kid Icarus shorts as well. There was like a 3.
Yeah, there's that Kirby show and Pikmin shorts as well.
So I think there's still room. And the kind of thing I would love to see is not a full-on feature animation thing, but a series of like OVAs by talented studios and directors that deal with diving into particular story elements from the games, not a whole game adaptation. You can play the game. I don't need to see a cartoon. You want an
Animatrix Star Wars Visions style thing.
Well, yeah, I want to dive in deeper on these personal stories, and I want some meaning. I think there's a lot of meat left on every single one of these games' bones. I want to see what it's like for a character to live and die in Link's Awakening. What does it mean to them? Just follow one of those characters throughout the, and you can see Link running around. We'll follow him through the dungeons, but let's.
No, he should just be in the background, like out of focus in all the shots. It's like a shopkeeper. Yeah. Just like, you want pots, you know.
You want to see Link do stuff, obviously. You want to see Zelda do stuff, but I think there's just so much room to dive in deeper, and I think that's something that Nintendo would do anyway, because it's about enriching and living with the game experience, which is fundamentally different from linear storytelling.
Absolutely.
And so again, that's why this live action Zelda thing, it's like, I get why people are like, damn it. I think really what's happening is people are just sort of selfishly like, damn it, I could have worked on that animated Zelda.
I know
was really
a lot of people that are pissed off.
But I got news for you. You were never going to work on that because it's going through Illumination, and it would be a bunch of French people you've never heard of.
Right.
Who have never played a Zelda game in their life making that movie, and they're going to make $1 billion. So like
absolutely.
That fancy
but
was
that
always
said,
a fantasy.
That said, Nintendo, we are available to make Metroid. Anyway, we're going to move on to, I think from there, we've finished the news. We're now going to take a small break, and we're going to move on to our main topic, which is why we have you here, Parker. It's to talk all about Nintendo operating softwares right after this break. And we are back here with Parker Simmons to talk all about Nintendo's operating systems. There is a bit of a through line of Nintendo's kind of design philosophies that you can course as you are looking at their kind of home screen menus, their operating systems, and then you can also see exactly the point and kind of why they did an about face on some of the charm and personality that you got in a lot of these OSs and home screens when it comes to the Switch and Switch 2. But I think there's a good reason for it, and it comes directly from user feedback. But we'll get to all of that here in a second. I just want to get your thoughts overall, Parker, because when I came to you about being on the show, I gave you a few topics, and this one stood out to you. What is it about Nintendo OSs that you found so fascinating and you wanted to talk about?
Well, I think it's no secret that I'm a massive Nintendo fan, and I think part of their charm is, they've never strictly been a video game company, and I think they're getting more and more bold about telling people that. And there's stuff that gets lost in translation. But first and foremost, they're an entertainment company and kind of a toy company. And there's some people that don't like hearing that, but they specifically designed a lot of their early consoles around the toyetic properties that make people want to have fun engaging with something tactile. And, it comes down to an eject button in a Super Nintendo. You don't need it. You can pull it out. They put it in there because it feels fun.
Yeah.
And so I think that you still see a lot of that today, but I think the OS in a lot of these systems or home screen or whatever you want to call it, and it varies throughout the era, but whenever they go all in on that stuff, it reminds me of this entertainment / toy company who's like, we want you, when you engage with our stuff, to feel this indelible quality that only Nintendo has. It's not going to feel like a PlayStation or your PC or an Xbox. You're playing a Nintendo product, for better or worse. And I think most of the time it's better. And there's just something, it's just about setting the mood. It's no different than having an overture in a movie, something they don't do anymore.
Sure.
And for good, like you said, they stripped it down. Well, it's for good reason. People don't really want it anymore. And it's like, I was watching something the other day, and it was like, the movie's getting stuff. I was watching Clue with my kid. She's like, oh, let's watch this. And, there's music playing to set the mood. And she goes, what is this? Why isn't it starting? I go, it's an overture. You're supposed to be listening so you can recognize the themes later in the film.
Right.
She's like, it's boring. And I'm like, well, there's why we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I think in a way that's sort of what we're dealing with here. But I'd say, nobody did it quite like Nintendo. I'm not sitting here reminiscing about the soda pop fucking PS3 menu.
Although the PS3 menu does have its fans.
Hey, look, it's nice.
It's nice. Yeah.
But I'm not reminiscing about it, and I'm not sitting here going, they got to bring that shit back like every other week I do, where I'm like, how come I'm not playing Street Pass games every day on my Switch?
Right.
The Switch is portable. I want to be doing Street Pass.
Absolutely. Eagle-eyed viewers of the show will see I've got my 3DS.
I see it in the back. It's sitting there on Me Plaza.
Yeah, that's right. From here. And you know that because they were so specific with all of their design decisions when it came to that era of Nintendo, but we'll work our way up to that because I do want to start this conversation.
That's the end of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, it's the Wii U and the 3DS are kind of the culmination.
Era.
Yeah, the era of abundance when it comes to Nintendo's design aesthetics. But we'll work our way up there, and then we also have some honorable mentions as well. But I think let's start at the beginning here because you could argue that this isn't really an operating system at all. But I think to talk about all this stuff, you need to talk about the first time Nintendo ever had a system that would turn on and not just go straight into a game.
And a theme.
Yes, that had a theme. And that was the Famicom Disk System. So when you would insert, or when you would turn on, because if you're not familiar with this console, it was basically an add-on to the original Japanese NES, which was called the Famicom. And there was an add-on to the bottom that could play discs. And so a lot of games that we ended up getting in the US started as Famicom Disk System games. Like Metroid was one, Legend of Zelda was one. And then those all got kind of like stripped down. A lot of times the soundtracks were a lot more basic because they couldn't fit all the music that was in the disc
Kid
system
Icarus
version.
as well.
Kid Icarus was one. There's a number of them. And so there was a home screen that would pop up here that says basically insert your Famicom disc, right? And it had a little thing where Mario and Luigi would run around until you put the disc in. And that is kind of the very beginning of any Nintendo operating system. Do you have any interaction with the Famicom disc system?
I know a good deal about it. You know, I've watched a retrospective here and there are a lot of collectors. We were just talking about things that go away for a good reason. The disc system went away for a good reason. Yeah. One is a lot of the discs were rewritable and people were trading in games. And so you have a very unreliable trade-in market.
Right.
Where you'd be like, I'm buying Excite Bike, and you boot it up and it's, Tetris or Dr. Mario. And you're like, well, shit, I'm screwed. And you could go to these machines that would rewrite it. And it's all very fun and bespoke and weird. But they also are notorious for breaking because apparently, and I can't remember if it's the disc or the drive itself, but one of them has like a band in it that just snaps. And if you can't get that part, you're just screwed. So there's a reason that like they didn't launch that here. And instead they just started having battery powered saves in cartridges.
Right. Yeah.
And which are much more reliable. And a lot of them still work and you can fix them. You don't have to get a special rubber band. In order to fix that stuff,
even the Lego Game Boy in the cartridge for Link's Awakening has a little.
It's got that little battery.
In it. Yeah, I love that.
Such a nice detail.
No, but I think the disc system I have yet to buy. I've got a Famicom back here that I picked up recently. The disc system is next on my list, but I'm like, I'm working my way to that
collector's item for sure. There are two things I want to share that I think there's one that I just that theme is da 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 da. That is referenced throughout Nintendo soundtracks, and I feel like it's almost always lost on US gamers because we didn't have it. But take a look at the video for the Famicom Disk System startup and think about where you might have heard of that in other games. The other thing I want to mention is there is a fantastic commercial for the Famicom Disk System for Super Mario Brothers 2 and The Legend of Zelda, and it stars these like commercial mascots they had at a time that kind of look like a father and daughter, and they are screaming at each other in extreme anger over like losing a video game. And then it cuts to each one of these, they're playing, they lose, and then Mario looks at the camera and he goes "Hetaxo," which means you suck. He screams you suck. Actually, I think it might even be more profane than that. It might be
you fucking suck.
You wouldn't even say you suck in a commercial in America. But and the same thing with Link, now that father takes over and he dies and Link, Link's all bloody, looks up with his sword and goes, "Hetaxo." It's so cute. It's such a great commercial. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that the Disk System era also gave us the beloved mascot Discun, the adorable little two-dimensional yellow guy with the googly eyeballs. Yeah, he's amazing, and I feel like we missed out in the States on Discun. I love him; he's great, and he'll pop up in games like Smash Brothers and
he was like thinking assist trophy or maybe just a regular trophy, but
I think he might have been a trophy or a sticker or something. But you'll see him pop up from time to time and all this other stuff. And
that's right.
What is this? Yeah. Adorable little dude. Well, he's Discun. Look him up.
A much forgotten add-on to the system that I think starts the era of the operating systems for Nintendo.
I would agree with that.
I think you can make a case for another one that would come after for the Super Famicom, but I think I'm going to hold that until the end when we talk about
Satellaview.
The Satellaview, that's right, with the BSX kind of BIOS that they had there. But we'll hold that for the end. Let's move on to the next one, because other than the Famicom Disk System, Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, N64, none of these had any sort of operating system, I suppose.
Yeah, there was like an N64 disk drive. But not really.
Not really the same.
It makes a disturbing noise if you don't have a disk loaded or a save data loaded.
Right.
That's about it.
We only have room for one BIOS. Everything else is going to be an actual operating system. Next that we'll bring up is the GameCube. And this was pretty svelte, the OS that was on the GameCube. Very similar to the PlayStation 2's operating system at the time, I would say. But visually, I think this was actually quite sleek. You know, you had this, when you would have a game in, I think the game would just start. I think you could actually maybe pick whether it started or
you have to hold a button down in order to get it not to start. Otherwise, it would start automatically.
But it's got this kind of translucent cube that would spin around. You've got a few things here, right? You've got
an ellipsed cube.
That's
really
right.
Smooth, transparent.
That's right. You had some audio options. You had like a calendar and like an internal clock that you could access. There was also, of course, the memory cards. You could look at all the different saves you had on your memory card. And then on top of that, there were also a number of Easter eggs, one of which you kind of already brought up with the Famicom Disk System soundtrack. The music that's playing in the background here is actually a super slowed down version of that original boot up screen, which is why I definitely wanted to include Disk System in this conversation today. There were a couple other Easter eggs. Do you remember any of the other ones that were in this?
On startup, you can hold certain buttons down and you'll hear a squeaky version of the GameCube startup. And there's also one that'll play like samurai noises and a taiko drum.
It's like, oh!
Like a kabuki theater sort of sounds that are really fun. I think you have to have the controller on like the second player port. And I think they still work.
I think it works on NSO. I think on the new app on Nintendo Classics.
Cool.
Yeah,
but I do also want to say that like if there wasn't always a lot of reason to go into the GameCube OS, but if you played Animal Crossing on the GameCube, you're intimately familiar with going to that calendar so that you can time travel.
That's right.
Which is a thing. Even then, you got to deal with Rossetti, and he is a true nightmare. But unless you're an absolute baby, you can deal with him.
Yeah.
I think learning to deal with Rossetti is an important part.
You're going to die on this hill, Parker.
I will die on that. You know what? I'm not going to die on that hill because there's no way any of these people who are scared of Rossetti could kill me.
That's true. That's true.
They're going to cry getting on the way. Oh, I'm going to have to fight someone.
This just
stay there at the bottom of the hill.
Parker Simmons thinks the kids are too woke these days. Oh my goodness!
I did not say that. No, I didn't. In fact, I believe it's the opposite. Looking at certain statistics from the last election, it turns out the kids are not.
That's true. Maybe they're not as all right as we thought. But we'll move on from GameCube. I mean, unless is there anything else you wanted to say about the GameCube's OS? I think it is.
I mean, it's like you said, it's pretty svelte. It's pretty straightforward. But I do want to say I agree with you that it's sleek, and I can still hear the sound when when you transition from the startup to the actual menu. There's just something kind of spooky about it.
Yeah.
It's the world's spookiest OS.
It's spooky, and it's also like
dark
kind of
spooky.
It's like comforting almost though too. It's like because the PS2, like the reason I keep comparing it to the PS2, like I think functionally it's more like the Dreamcast, but the Dreamcast had like a fun, bright aesthetic, where the PS2 was like
PS2 is
in
all
the
flat
dark
because it's a DVD player.
Yes, but it's in this dark void where these ethereal shapes are coming out of. You know what I mean? And it's it's hard to really. For me, it's like very nostalgic, and I grew up in that era, so so it makes sense.
If I got trapped there in a digital space, if I got amazing digital circus into the GameCube OS, I think I'd be okay. And you could quote me on that.
See, for me, you
can't quote me on the other shit.
I got prison booked from Myst. Like I touched the prison book and I got stuck inside the GameCube OS. That's like what I think. That I don't know. Maybe I'm a Myst head, so I think of everything in terms of that.
But you'd be all right. It's not a bad place to be. I think you'd be somewhat comforted, and every once in a while you hear that menu turn.
Yeah.
But you're going to see the nice little animating pictures on the memory cards. You see Beautiful Joe and you're like, Oh, beautiful Joe.
Yeah. At least we have beautiful Joe. Yeah.
I'll be okay.
Yeah, I do think this is kind of the beginning of Nintendo starting to like flaunt their like musical acumen for shit that like does not need music that goes that hard. You know what I mean? Like this is a very chill song. Like I would love them to add the GameCube menu theme to Nintendo music.
I think that is far more likely than you think.
Yeah. Well, they put the Wii stuff on there
because they put up a soundtrack that was literally all sound effects recently, and I lost it.
The Metroid 2 soundtrack is
that was what it was. Well,
I don't know. That one's kind of basic.
It was just, that was it. Where it was just like beep 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 beep
beep
beep click 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 beep beep beep, and I'm like, you're kidding.
Dude, you're kidding. Side 3 of the Mario World vinyl is all just sound effects.
We need those.
Yeah, absolutely. I need the vinyl hits on the sound effects that I rip. Anyway, we're gonna move on to the next in chronology here, which is the Nintendo DS. Now, I think that obviously we're gonna talk about 3DS here in a little bit, but Nintendo DS, to me, visually, is kind of Nintendo's like kind of first and only like pixel art. Like sort of like the way that it visually looks is very bright, like almost that Dreamcast bright aesthetic. But I think functionally, it's very much inspired by GameCube here. You know, you've got the calendar, you've got, the basic themes, you can look at saves and stuff like that. You've got a clock. But what they really added here that really made it stood apart is something that still to this day, we do not have a good replacement for, and that's PictoChat. That being a whole part of the operating system on the DS was
huge. A different time when you could go to a con and boot up PictoChat and just see some of the worst humanity has to offer. Yeah. But it was a different time and it was fun, man. You boot up PictoChat and you're just like, I'm with my people.
Yeah.
It's a way of connecting that I think, Street Pass kind of ultimately fulfilled in another way, but it just makes you feel at ease because you're like, there's other Nintendo fans here.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it means to be a fan of Nintendo, especially in this era when being a fan of them is frankly not all that cool.
Mm-hmm.
There was an era where they ruled the world in the early 90s. And then there was sort of like, I've got my PS2. Oh, you've got the GameCube, more like lame cube.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, I guess this is just where I am now. But there's just something about PictoChat lent itself to a feeling of solidarity amongst weirdo fans.
Well, it was also,
I think it was a great step forward for Nintendo in fostering a sense of some kind of community that made people feel like it's actually cool to be a fan of this because I'm inside a club that is exclusive.
Yes. And I know like the age that the DS was out, I was in like, this was kind of like the beginning of like high school or like maybe like end of middle school, beginning of high school. So it was like cell phones like were kind of out, but like text messaging wasn't really a thing at this point like it is now.
No.
So it's like, when I'd be going on a trip to like a speech and debate tournament or something and we're all on the bus, we all have our fucking DSs. We're all chatting over PictoChat. Like we were using it the way it was
unmoderated. No one can hear you. Your teachers can't hear you.
That's
they can't see what you're drawing, not just typing, but drawing in those chat windows.
Well, they call it DictoChat for a reason. Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Even though it's a different world, I think that we're able to bring back PictoChat in some capacity. But there are a couple other things with this operating system that are definitely worth talking about. You had DS Download Play, which is another thing which is really way ahead of its time. And we haven't seen anything really like it since.
We've got Game Share now.
Right. But Game Share is like streaming, right? It's like different. Like this was actually pulling like a version of a game and only having one copy, so Game Share like is similar, but it's kind of it's
pulling it from the cartridge.
It's that meme from Invincible where it's like, look what they have to do to mimic a fraction of our power.
A fraction of our power.
Yeah, exactly. So you had that there. There was a settings suite. You could change the color of the menu and the startup message and stuff like
cool.
that. I think though, PictoChat was kind of like almost ahead of the curve of what Nintendo was starting to realize with the DS. And that's that, in this like pre-smartphone world, kind of like in the era of like PDAs, I think Nintendo was
Yeah.
realizing like, oh shit, like people,
Power of an app.
yeah, they're like not just gamers are buying the DS. You know, they started making this was kind of the birth of their blue ocean strategy, right? So it was like, you know, you started seeing stuff like Brain Age coming out. You started seeing
Nintendogs.
Nintendogs Stop Smoking Coach. You know, like all these different things because you know grandmas and aunties and uncles were like buying the DS, and so
you can see that in the initial design of the device where it was sort of silver and looked a little bit more like a personal planner. You know what I mean? It was kind of odd. Before they were like, all right, we got to get it better. We're going back to the Game Boy Advance SP form factor. This is obviously better and more convenient, but I think you're right. It leaned into that blue ocean thing. We're going to get businessmen and moms, as well as, you know, all the young people on board with this thing. Yeah.
And I think it's worth bringing up the DSi. And I was trying to think, do I go to Wii first and then DSi or the other way around? Because let's just stick with DS for now and talk about the DSi.
Yeah,
because
there's overlap.
Yeah, there's overlap. But it's like the DSi came out after the Wii, if I'm not mistaken. And
that's correct.
And it brought so much of the design aesthetic from the Wii into the DS. And then not only that, it really pushed forward that PDA. You can use this for everything sort of thing, right? So in the DSi, you know, obviously in the hardware, you actually had a camera, you know, you had a microphone built in. You know, I think there was actually a microphone in the DS as well. Maybe, I think so.
There was.
There was in the Famicom as well, which is weird. But, you know, the kind of OS of the DSi had a lot more of that like tactile, like physical button with a drop shadow.
It's a camera. It's an MP3 player,
right?
Kind of, because you could load songs on I think some kind of
you could put there was like an SD card reader, right? So like so you could put music on there. There was also like a voice recorder and like a whole voice recorder app
with the little parrot character,
right, exactly. And you could say something into the voice recorder app and then reverse it, and it would play backwards. So what me and my friends would do is we would record something into the voice recorder app, play it backwards, learn to say it backwards, and then like say it backwards and try to reverse it so it sounds like a real word. Which, you know, we did to varying success. But there's still things that I say to some of my friends that are like, never read in a bit, which is like stuff we just like learned to say backwards. It's like total inside joke shit, but it was fun. A couple other things in there too, you know, obviously, in addition to the, you know, the photo viewer, the audio remixer and stuff like that, you had kind of our first ever real shop. You know, we had the DSi shop, or it was called the DSi Marketplace.
It was DSiWare.
Right.
I can't remember what they called the shop, but I know that was the sort of brand. And I had a number of games through there, only a few of which transferred over to the 3DS when it finally came out. But Flipnote Studio was from there. Still popular to this day. I had a few animations that did well there. And then there's, you know, some download titles that there was like one with like you play as Kappa's Journey. I think that was one of them that was pretty big. I remember there being a Dragon Quest like grid-based tactic game. It wasn't super deep, but I liked it. I think that's also where Dr. Luigi started, which is the weird offshoot of Dr. Mario.
That's right.
So they had some pretty notable releases. It was nothing earth-shattering. Honestly, I remember buying the DSi and thinking, this is it. This is the next level. And like, you know, it ended up being kind of this like crutch as the system limped towards its death. In terms of having a DS, this thing did it all.
Yeah.
It was a very nice little system that could. Great battery life, and its OS was incredibly charming, and it did feel very, very Wii-like. And I think it was only the single row too, and it wasn't until 3DS until we were, you know,
you had the pleasure of having a grid.
Functional, rows and folders and all that.
Yeah, and I think that overall, I think the DSi hardware-wise felt a lot more like professional and geared towards adults. Like they had that like DSi XL that was in that like burgundy color that looked, you know, with a huge screen, and it was like on the top, and it was like, oh, this isn't a huge screen for like gameplay purposes. This is so like your grandma can see what's going on.
I can read the great novels. I have time to read the great novels.
Yeah, I can finally use Quit Smoking Coach, where I can see what's going on. But you shouldn't. If you're 85 years old, you should just keep smoking at that point. Anyway, that's beside the point. But yeah, I think the DSi really brought a lot of that Wii aesthetic in. And I think let's move to the Wii and let's talk about that, because I think as far as like Nintendo menus or operating systems are concerned, I think to this day, the Wii is kind of the king of the castle here. You know, I think like it, you know, a lot of that again comes down to nostalgia. Replicate. But it's like it became Nintendo's entire personality.
They really didn't want you to pull away from that screen.
Right.
Oh, you want to check the weather? Boom, Weather Channel with bespoke music, some deliciously handcrafted tunes so you can read an article. And is it the best way to read an article? No, absolutely not. Yeah. But it's fun. And you don't have to leave your way. You can look at the weather, you can go to Everybody Votes channel, you can go to your calendar, you can look at your photos. There's so much you can do with every one of these channels.
Dude, Everybody Votes is so insane. That was such a crazy
wild. I loved it.
Channel.
Yeah. But I mean, and always unpredictable. I'm like, yeah, is that so?
Yeah.
But it's just, honestly, the Wii is such a fun thing. And I think that was out while I was in like college. Mm-hmm. It's a great date machine, man. Nothing went better than inviting someone over to play the Wii and showing them like, look at this weird, let's look at the weather. And it's one of those things where people are, like I said, Nintendo's an entertainment and kind of a toy company, and it's a conversation piece. You could turn the Wii on and have so much fun with anybody, regardless of their sort of familiarity with games, because they're going to be like, you can look at the news on your Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's weird. Let me see that.
Yeah.
And it's a novelty, but it keeps things interesting. And I think that was the appeal of that era. Mm-hmm. Just the conversational living room peaceness of it. Like you said, that blue ocean strategy, it's for everyone. But I think it's just the novelty was really fun.
Yeah, I think this is also just where you get so much of the like personality going forward of what they were trying to do. You know, this is kind of the birth of the like the Fruitiger Aero aesthetic. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with that kind of like concept.
Yeah.
But it's that early 2000s, like, you know, it was like Windows ME, you know, the kind of like everything was kind of all the buttons look.
Here's a nice fish at a rolling hillside.
Yes, exactly. But
that goldfish shouldn't be in the sky.
There's actually an exact word for it. And I saw it when I was doing research for this episode and I forgot to write it down, but it's like the original iPhone had this and the Wii had this, but it's like the buttons all have like a sheen to it. They almost look like they're encased.
Yeah, it was like Web 2.0.
Yeah, kind of.
That's what they called it.
Exactly. And it's like everything seemed tangible and touchable.
Everything's a capsule that you can grab.
Exactly. Right. And so that was all built into the home screen right there. And not only that, but it's like all the option menus. You know, you had the finger pointer with the, you know, the very TV remote shaped controller that came with the Wii.
Don't change that channel.
Exactly. And I think that it's like, we're talking about how the DSi kind of existed in this era where they were trying to compete with PDAs. This was Nintendo really getting in ahead of like smart TVs, you know, and kind of what we all now take for granted with all of our TVs.
I think they even said at some point, and I know other companies have said this too, but they're like, we're not competing with Microsoft and Sony. We're competing with everything that takes up your time.
Right.
We want you to stay with us, which is ludicrous. But it lends itself to really funny, quirky, interesting results. And I don't know how serious they took any of this.
Right.
But it was a fun era.
Which is interesting that like Nintendo went so hard on this being like the catch-all set-top box, but did not add the ability for it to play DVDs. I don't think I'll ever fully understand that. Maybe it was a Sony thing or a proprietary Philips format, or I don't know exactly what it was.
It's possible. It's like, I know that Blu-ray is, but it's possible it had something to do with that. But I think it also comes down to being a price point thing.
But at that point, it had the ability. Like if you mod your Wii, you can make it play DVDs. You know,
interesting.
And so it's like, it's something that was not a hardware limitation. You know, like the laser could read them just fine. You know, it just was like, I don't know what it was. Cause like eventually they added Netflix to the Wii and like, that was there. That was a disc you had to stick in. Right. And then
I remember that. Yeah.
And then you could like stream Netflix in the very early days. In fact, as much as like maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, I was like dating this woman who like that's how she watched Netflix, was like on her Wii. I was like, you
Yeah, I love
are
that.
an ancient grand person.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's the
It
same.
reminds me of my granny who had web TV and a remote control that was also a keyboard. And I'm
Right,
like, oh,
right.
It's kind of badass.
That's the same X that I bought for Valentine's Day. I like bought a copy of like Wii Fit and a balance board for her because I knew she was like trying to exercise more and she was like still played her Wii. And I was like, here, this is great. And then she like stepped on the balance board and the balance board was like, you're obese. And she was like, here, you can have this back.
No, that game's not fun. Yeah, I hate that.
It was not
That's
a
not
great
good.
Valentine's Day gift. I'll tell you that
I
right
was
now.
just thinking now. You don't want to have done that.
But anyway, I think as far as the style and the music and everything is concerned, like some of the tracks that were written for the Wii operating software is just some of the best music that I think Nintendo's
And they're
ever
on
written.
their Nintendo Music app.
Yeah,
Which is wild. They uploaded those one day and I was like, that's right.
Absolutely.
There was music for the photo channel. Let's listen to that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you know.
The forecast channel where you would like see the weather, still I put that on to fall asleep to all the time. I put that shit on to read to a lot. A lot of the Wii OS music I put on to read to. So really, really great stuff here. I think again that tactility was a huge part of this. And then we've talked a little bit about some of the channels here. But I think you could count these along the operating system as well. What were some of your favorites? We've talked about news. We've talked about forecast. Do you have any others that were standouts to you?
Everybody votes is the one that sticks out to me as a memory just because it was so odd and it kind of came out of nowhere. I truly don't know what they got out of it because the questions would always be, I feel like almost like a precursor to Splatoon.
Right, the Splatfest
event matches or Splatfest, where it's
yeah.
like ketchup or mustard. It's a lot of that. But then they would break down the demographics of who voted. And it'd be like, you know what? Pound for pound, moms like mustard. Mustard did not win, but moms.
It's like proto CNN.
It won with moms.
Like
it's very
black median voters all go for whatever.
Yeah, you're like, what? How could this possibly be relevant? It's weird information. It was odd, but that one I think sticks out to me, and we'll probably get to it. But I just want to say that I liked their storefront. I liked the Wii Shop.
Oh yeah,
I loved it, and there were some great games on WiiWare that I still can't play to this day. There was one that was called Winds of something. It was this adorable Lost Winds. I think it was called Lost Winds. This adorable big-headed child had the power of wind, and I haven't seen it since. I can't play Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles My Life as a King. That was amazing. I want it back. It was a WiiWare exclusive, and I love the Virtual Console. I like being able to buy those games as is, purely emulated, and not have them as part of a subscription service. So there are a lot of things about that era that are still wonderful. And can't forget to mention that Mega Man 9 and 10 were a huge deal when they released as WiiWare titles. And I think they were on other storefronts as well, but they did really well. Yeah. Releasing those and sort of revitalizing the brand. So
absolutely.
That's a lot of the stuff that I sort of remember. And then I think everybody and their dog had a good time on the Me creator.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that Me channel where you could create your own Me, and then obviously the Check Me Out channel where you could basically upload your Me's and then download ones that were really cool. That was such a huge part, and that's again, we're now on the Switch 2, and there's still a Me creator, right? So it's
buried.
Yeah, it's buried. It's certainly not like. I think they're embarrassed that they're called Me's. Like spelled the way that the Wii was, and so they're like Nintendo is so weird and petty. Like I think it's like little stuff like that. They're like, if it was called something else, it would probably have its own like thing on the main menu of the Switch.
That's an interesting point, but I mean they were still big through the 3DS.
That's true. Yeah, I suppose.
So I don't know. I feel like
we did have Miiverse on 3DS.
I think what it comes down to is they used to be really integrated. And I get the feeling that you can't speak for Nintendo. They're incredibly insular. But I've read every interview I could possibly read with these people to try to get inside their head. And the one thing I know about game developers who work for Nintendo across all these different teams is they are extremely territorial. And I get the feeling the moment they were told you don't need to worry about Me integration, they ripped every piece of that right out of their infrastructure. They're like, I don't have to care about Me's. Not only will I it's optional now. Optional.
Yeah.
Rip, tear, cut, snap, burn, electrocute, waterboard. Mii's gone.
I don't know. I think we're seeing a bit of a comeback. At least I pray for a comeback of the Miis. I'm a huge Mii fan.
I doubt it.
I mean, we've got Tomodachi Life. We've got a new Tomodachi Life coming. That's all Miis.
We do, and that's going to be a hit. Like people are more nostalgic for that than they realize. Miitopia was big.
Yeah, it did well.
Miitomo did not work. It was funny though.
I loved Miitomo.
R.I.P. It was fun for like 2 weeks.
But the new Tomodachi Life will be the new Miitomo.
It's going to be a hit. It's going to be,
I'm excited.
And it's got the Miitopia creation features. But I think that's when it comes to Mii's, I think the idea is their integration was a novelty, and the novelty is worn thin.
Sure. Yeah, I can agree.
And I will stand by my point and say that individual development teams did not like integrating them because it became another thing they had to do, much the same as motion controls. A lot of the times you'll see some teams are like, yeah, we'll do it because we want to sell that point of the system. But whenever something becomes optional and a development team was previously forced to integrate it, they're going to rip it right out because they don't want to be told what to do. They're extremely territorial, and they want to get back to having their sort of central voice. And you'll see this not just in Nintendo, but across different development companies in Japan. I think it's a similar situation with Kojima and Konami. He's like, I created Metal Gear, and they're like, you're fired.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
They're like, we own it and you don't. Don't ever claim you own an IP at all. And you see it with ongoing lawsuits between companies and rival developers and et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's just there are levels to the games they play when it comes to hierarchy and who makes what decision. And I really get the feeling, I can't prove it, but I get the feeling there are a number of development teams who hate the Miis.
Yeah, well.
And they don't want them.
Suck it up, baby. David wants more Miis.
They are not in Mario Kart anymore. And they were ripped out.
I know.
And I'm telling you, I wasn't there, but I'm telling you, the moment they're like, you don't have to put Miis in, they're like, oh, Coconut Mall, rip, tear, snap.
See,
toss,
for me,
crush.
I think the reason that they stopped pushing Miis so hard is because they were like, we can't. Because what I really want, and this is a complete aside, we need to move on to 3DS, but this is the last thing I'll say on the Miis, is that I really want there to be, you can order a custom amiibo of your Mii. That's what I want. And I think they were like, look, we're going all in on amiibos, and it's like, we just don't have the fucking bandwidth to print like bespoke amiibos for like people that order them.
I have no idea how that would work. You could probably pay to get that to happen.
I would love it. If anyone is a 3D printer and wants to 3D print me.
That said, I do think we'd be remiss. I know we need to move on, but I just want to give it one more little shout out to Mii as being the basis for the NPCs in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
That somebody figured out that they use those features, and that they each individual feature on the faces was 1-to-1 with a feature in Breath of the Wild, and so they would make a Mii and put it in the game. It was fascinating to watch.
There was another game that came out as well recently. I don't know that for a fact, but I was like playing it and I was like, this is definitely Mii's. Like, I think it's being used throughout a lot of Nintendo games, but let's move on to the 3DS, because I think the 3DS in a way was a blend of the DSi aesthetic, what they kind of had there, and the Wii aesthetic, and brought it really as like a huge evolution of their operating system to the 3DS. And I think to this date, I think maybe Wii U being the outlier here, 3DS feels like the most feature-packed operating system Nintendo
you said
ever
the Wii
did.
Was the gold standard.
Yeah,
the 3DS is respectfully the gold standard.
Yeah.
It cuts all the fluff right out, but it weirdly puts a lot more delicious fluff right back in.
Right, absolutely.
It's like, we don't need any of this and that. That was useless. You know what's really useless is Nintendo Badge Arcade, and you can decorate this.
Yeah, they started to gamify a lot of the channels,
but I
right?
loved it.
Yeah,
and I loved, and you could get a Discun badge on there, which bringing it back full circle, and they have the themes and everything as well. But I would say the 3DS for me is the gold standard, because the modern era of gaming, as all things sort of homogenize over time, has become about expression. You don't want to be the same as anybody else. When I play, Breath of the Wild is a hit because it's a game about expression. Mario Odyssey is a hit because you can express yourself and how you platform and get to a goal. Same is true of Bonanza. games that are the biggest hits now, even an Elden Ring or a Souls-like or whatever, it's about expression.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3DS allowed you more than any of these other OSs to express yourself.
Yeah, I agree. We had like themes, it's like, where the fuck are themes?
Yeah.
Like there's a whole
music
section.
Icons.
There's a whole section on the Switch and Switch 2 for themes. And it's just been basic black and basic white, I think is what they're called. And it's like, it's like, where are the themes, man? Like we had themes for so long on 3DS. That was a huge part of it. People talk about that all the time. But I mean, there was a ton in here, man.
Yeah.
Like there was.
We've only scratched the surface. I ranted for like 5 minutes.
No. You're good. We have like just built in. We had like there's like game notes. There's the Nintendo Zone, which was like where you could take your thing to place. You could take your 3DS to places and download games. I don't know if it had straight up PictoChat in it, but it did have friends lists. You could track like how long you've been playing certain games. There's like an activity log. I
love the activity tracker. I don't know why we don't have it on the Switch or the Switch 2. I need it back. I like seeing what's at the top.
You know what? We do have it. It's just buried under parental controls. You know what I mean?
That's where it's at.
Yeah. Because you could see exactly how much your kid has played or whatever.
But I liked the fun of seeing it graphed out.
Yes.
And then they also gave you specific stats where it was like not just most hours played, but most continuous hours played. Like, you've got 300 hours in Animal Crossing, but you played it like 10 minutes at a time. When you played A Link Between Worlds, you played it 20 hours at a time.
Right. Exactly.
Because you couldn't put it down. These are the kind of stats that matter.
Right.
This is good stuff. This is how you're able to really suss out, your thoughts and feelings on a game once you're done with it.
Yeah.
So I miss the activity log.
I do too. We didn't mention this with the Wii, but there was an internet browser on there as well. We had an internet browser.
Oh yeah, an Opera-based nightmare. Yes,
absolutely. We obviously had. This was the first like official eShop. I think that's where the term eShop came from. Right.
Started here, yeah.
Right. Was here on 3DS. And then, you had the 3DS Sound app, which was kind of an evolution of the DSi app. There's a ton of stuff in here. AR games, I think, was a thing. Obviously, you had...
That's the game chat. That's the game chat of the 3DS. It just was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. And then I think we need to talk about Street Pass, right? Like, I think that Street Pass was such a huge integral part of the operating system, not just in that it was its own game, and there was a Street Pass Plaza, and like what was the RPG or whatever that would play whenever
Find Me.
Yeah, Find Me. That was one. But then it also worked in Street Pass pings that you would get as you're walking past people into actual games themselves, and developers.
Again, much like it's an evolution of that PictoChat ethos, which is you will learn that you're not alone.
Right.
If you're playing your 3DS, that you're an odd person, especially at this point where but people who are growing up with Nintendo, I don't know if they, have a name beyond just like millennial, but who have grown up and not grown out.
There's got to be a Nintendo version of Disney adults that I think.
I mean, Nintendo adults, and I'm sad to say, it's that thing where they post a meme and somebody says something nerdy and someone replies with like a picture of like a green t-shirt with the Triforce and khaki cargo shorts
exactly.
and like a cabbie hat, and it's like, fuck you, man. Like, you're right, but how dare you? No, I'm okay.
Psychic
I'm okay.
damage. Yeah,
it absolutely took psychic damage from that. It's like, you're not wrong, but how dare you? But I think the Street Pass is a part of that feeling, because it's not just those people who play. You want to know that, like, yeah, man, it's just a nice feeling to go. Can't tell you how many times, my wife and I go somewhere on a weekend, and we're still in our, 20s. Mm-hmm. And then we come back and we're like, I got a Street Pass. Holy shit, there were like 30 people there.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my puzzles. It's just one of those meditative, but also quietly uplifting things that really made, that era of Nintendo feel like it's not just buy your game. Okay, you're done. Enjoy your game.
Right.
Which, we're kind of there now, but the games are really fucking good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and we'll get to that when we talk about the Switch. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a feeling that hasn't been replicated, and I will say it's missing, and I see no reason why the Switch can't do it.
Yeah, I agree, especially with Street Pass.
I miss
and
it,
stuff
and
like that, like physical IRL pings. Like I forgot when I was, I've got some videos of the operating systems here, and I think that I forgot that the 3DS had a pedometer in it as well. Like it tracked your steps.
Yeah,
like how
one
many
of the most
steps
accurate ones in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just all this kind of shit that was kind of just going on in the background, and then if you wanted to, you could integrate it into your games, right? I think this is also the beginning of where you're starting to see all of these features really starting to take a toll on Nintendo's like methodology of like keeping really low powered hardware. It's like when there's not a ton of RAM allocated to the operating system and you pack the operating system full of stuff, it's going to chug anytime you want to select anything.
This is where we, could probably transition to the Wii U because that's what did it.
Yeah, 100%.
That's exactly what happened there. It ran really slow and it was like, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
I need my system to just work. Okay.
Well, because the Wii U, like, definitely, it took the Wii stuff and then it took a lot of stuff from 3DS as well.
Yeah.
But really packed it all feature rich. Like it was like that idea of like the smart TV, the set top box. Like Nintendo was quite literally doing that.
It's a Wii too. We want to do.
Well, they had the
the
TV feature, which a lot of people don't remember. But like on the Wii U gamepad, you could like click TV and use it as a remote for your TV, which is actually super, super cool. I use that all the time. But there was also this like TV like programming. Like you could basically like pump TV through your Wii U.
Yeah.
I think Xbox was trying to do this at the same time as well. They were basically trying to like make it a Roku or whatever, right? Like, it didn't really work, but that was them really kind of taking that idea and going whole hog with it, right?
Yeah.
There are a few other features here that are definitely worth talking about. I think that up to this day, this is the most feature-rich eShop we ever had on any Nintendo console. Like the eShop on this, it had a really great music like the Wii did, but then it also like had all these different like categories and flashy animations and stuff like that.
Loved, yeah.
I loved the eShop on the Wii U. Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to actually search and narrow things down is wonderful. It was laggy as all hell. But and then I think it's important to say that they had a virtual console with Game Boy Advance and DS games. Yeah. And it took forever to get that happening on the Switch. And it was a la carte. You bought what you wanted. And you could also buy straight up Wii games at $20 a pop. And it was great. So if you had no other way to play a game like Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, you could download it for $20 to your Wii U. Mwah!
Oh, I loved it.
What
like
a treat.
Metroid Prime Trilogy for $20 on the Wii U was insane.
What a treat.
Yeah. I can't believe that.
But again, this is the era of we've got to get these people to buy this system. It just, I still remember like, oh man, we got to go line up outside Target, and there were 5 people, and it's like they weren't there for that. They were there for a limited edition Majora's Mask 3DS.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's the Wii U? Oh, I thought that was just like a tablet that goes with the Wii, and you're like, oh no.
That's funny. I was the same for the launch of the Switch. I didn't get a Switch on launch day, but I was there on opening night to get Breath of the Wild for the Wii U.
No, what's great about the Switch launch is that's we're in the era proper of everybody has an online storefront, and I was able to pre-order the ones that we got online.
Yeah.
So that was a different beast. But yeah, the Wii U, a beautiful menu. It's really slow. There are still some great games that are trapped on there, like Star Fox Zero and Nintendo Land. Some really weird stuff. But I would say, and it had overlap with the 3DS, but I do think Miiverse was a Wii U first experience that eventually transferred over. The Miiverse was exceptional. I loved it. Being able to see comments appear at certain points in a game surrounding different points, and in Mario Maker it was a big deal. But it just like, if you're someone with any artistic ability, this is a social media platform where you are God. You cannot be stopped. Here's my little text.
It's the evolution of PictoChat, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's my little text post. Ignored. Here's my beautifully rendered drawing of Ludwig to go next to Mario Brothers 3. Eat that. Boom. 1,000 likes. wonderful.
Mhm.
You're a god.
Yeah.
You're a god on the Wii U.
And it's like
indie drawing capability.
You could even see in like the very home menu, it was like the Wii was a very personal experience where you're like, you could connect online and you could do stuff, but it's like, hey, a lot of the stuff I'm doing with the people that are around me. The DS was similar, right? And the 3DS in some ways as well. When you started up the Wii U, everybody's Mii's all ran out, right?
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, and it's like, and then you're connecting with everybody online. Miiverse was really integrated into every game, so much so that when you play you emulate the Wii U version of Wind Waker nowadays, there's whole features that are missing because those are all integrated with Miiverse.
And wonderful features they were, the little messages in a bottle.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And you'd be like, oh, it actually like made sailing fun beyond speeding it up in that version of the game. You could also, I'd want to stop. I'd go out of my way to go, what did this psycho write?
Yeah, because you never knew. It was like
and it'd be Tingle like mooning you or something. And you go, cool. You're like, I don't know what I expected.
It's crazy too, because this is when like Nintendo was the most like scared about like kids being preyed upon, but yet you could just like see random shit inside their games. Like it was crazy. Yeah. Like it was a crazy lawless time.
They had some pretty strict moderation.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Which nowadays I think a lot of reason the companies, especially Nintendo, doesn't bother with any of this kind of stuff is they're like, we don't want to pay for moderation.
Yeah.
It's just easier to not let you do this.
Yeah.
Or to have, robust parental controls, which they do have. But 100%. The Wii U, I've still got mine plugged in because there's no other way to play Wind Waker or Twilight Princess HD. And the Pictionary game on Game & Wario. Everybody I've ever showed that to at a party ends up
Nintendo Land is fun too.
From laughing.
That's a good one.
The Animal Crossing game on Nintendo Land specifically also hilarious. So there are some games that are trapped on the Wii U that I hope find their way home. I hope that that DS and 3DS emulation make their way to the Switch. We're getting the Virtual Boy. Can't imagine why. That seems weird, but also cool, great. But the Wii U, I think it still has a very dedicated fan base. There's like a subreddit that's like, this is the best ever, man. And it reminds me of like people who are like, Betamax, dude.
Well, I mean,
Laserdisc, man.
In some ways, they're not wrong because, like we talked about, this was the peak of the aesthetic. Like this was Nintendo had been working over like 4 different consoles to this point, right?
These people are banging the drum.
Yeah.
For classic Nintendo.
And there's a lot of features that are just gone. Like, for instance, there is like video chat. Now we have like game chat.
Yeah, well, I will, right. And I do want to say this. Game chat, sure, fun. The video chat was hysterical because whenever you hung up, it played this sad music and you would fade to white so it looked like you were dying. And I think about it all the time. I was with, I think I called my buddy Griff, and my wife and I are talking to him, and we're just playing around with the features because you could draw on each other's faces and draw.
Right. You could put a little mustache on people.
It was foul. It was foul, and you could do other weird stuff. But it would be like, all right, and we were playing with it for the first time. We're like, all right, see you later, man. And he's like, all right, bye. And it was like, dun 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 dun. It's turning white. We're like, no, Griff, no. And he's like, bye. I have to go. Bye.
Crazy shit.
It was fun, man. Again, it's one of those features. It's like, does it really have a practical purpose? No, but it is a fun toy.
It's just worth noting that it's like now we're in the era of the Switch 2 where there is video chat, but we still don't have any texting ability. And this is stuff that has been around since like the Wii, you know what I mean? Or the DS, right? Like with Picto Chat. So it's like some of these key features I think we need to get back. But obviously, I think the reason that we have stripped away almost all of this stuff is because the operating system was dreadfully slow. Like it is painful to boot anything up on the Wii U. Like moving from screen to screen, it's just unacceptable. Like, and so now, I think that there's a middle ground. I don't think that it means we had to go as far as we did because now we're here at the Switch where, the Switch still has a little bit of that, like the line of icons or whatever. You've got some stuff here. You've got
the coolest thing about the Switch is that if you have online, you can make a great custom avatar with Nintendo's incredibly underrated official 2D artwork from their various video games.
Right.
That's awesome, but it's also it. That's it. It's literally it. There's nothing else going on in that OS.
Yeah.
And I think it's also about they probably just looked at the data and looked at consumers' needs and were just like, they don't want this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at the numbers. We're, talking about the Mario movie and stuff earlier, and it's like, you can say whatever you want, $1 billion. You can say whatever you want about the Switch OS. Yeah, argue with the numbers, bro.
Yeah.
Argue with the money.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they sort of repeated that with Switch 2. And I know people were like, hey, cool. You got everybody to buy a Switch. And you corrected some of the mistakes of the past, whether you want to call them mistakes or not. You course corrected in order to provide an experience that was more in line with your consumers' expectations. Mm-hmm. Great. Now that you've done that, you can become a little bit more yourself. It's like Tim Burton making Batman 89. And we're like, great. You gave the consumers what they expected. Now you can make Batman Returns and scare everybody.
Yeah, put some pleather latex in here, or whatever.
You can scare the bejesus out of a nation of 6-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly.
Who thought because there were Happy Meal toys they could go see this movie.
Oh yeah, Penguin was terrifying.
And so that's what I want to see with the Switch 2. But they just were sort of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For the first time,
yeah, pretty much
Nintendo history.
Yeah, you're right.
If it ain't broke, they have never done this, and they called it a Switch 2. They're like, we're not making that mistake again.
Right.
They kept the OS the same. We're not making that mistake.
When people talk about how the Switch is the first iterative console, or the Switch 2 rather, like I'm like, I mean, the Wii U is like a Wii 2 in all but name. But when you bring it up like with the OS, it's like this on the Switch 2, like I was very disappointed that there was no change here whatsoever, pretty much. But I mean,
well, they changed the color of the news icon.
Yeah, I suppose. And there's a few things that they added that they also then retroactively added to Switch 1. And let's go through some of those features here. But basically, you've got a Nintendo Switch Online app that you can click that sort of looks at an overall all the different actual Nintendo Switch Online games and kind of collates that data all into one app. Not very useful. You've got virtual game cards, which they've added recently. That is kind of their sort of game sharing service that is not as easy as just sharing games the old way. And then, like you said before, we have the Me Maker in there, but it's kind of buried.
Completely buried.
Its own thing. Right. And then with Switch 2, we have some new stuff added. We have Game Chat, which we've brought up a few times. Did a whole episode on that last week. Game Share, which again is sort of this facsimile of the DS download play. A much better eShop now
way better
on Switch 2. It's still not really
you boot up the Switch 1 eShop and turn your phone on and go.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Okay, it's loaded now. Whenever you scroll the deals page,
right?
Like scroll. Okay, pull up my phone again. Wait for this to load. Right. So it's much improved. Improved. And I would argue, right now in gaming, the best game storefront. It's the fastest. It's the fastest. It's the zippiest, and I can get right into it.
Yeah, and it's done a lot better. It actually has some recommendations now. I do think it's missing a lot of features.
They got to clean up the slop, but they've largely gotten around it by just having hey, here's the good curated titles.
Didn't the Wii U eShop have reviews? Couldn't you rate games?
I think
on the star
you could.
rating?
The Wii U in terms of actual functionality was really slow. But their eShop had genres. It had I think it even had recommendations, which the Switch 2 now has. They will recommend you games. But I think the Wii U eShop had that, and
inching our way back.
Also, we're clawing our way back to that. But you could really narrow down a search on the Wii U thing, and the Switch 2 has pretty good search function. But I do think it's still pretty tough to search by genre. On there, but it's a vastly improved experience. I like this eShop a lot more.
I mean, I think the lack of themes is crazy. I think if I don't need a home screen music like we had on all the old stuff, but I do think that it's worth bringing back some of the personality of some of the older stuff, and I think
a little bit of joy.
Yeah, I don't know that we really have time to talk about this episode because we're kind of looking back rather than looking forward on what Nintendo could do. But I think that there are lessons I think to be learned from a lot of the shortcomings of the old operating systems from Nintendo. while still maintaining a lot of what gave them their personality. And I'd love to get into some of that in a future episode of the show. But, that's kind of, I think, where we're at now. And I
mean, maybe we'll get surprised. I still feel that we are in this kind of transitionary phase.
Maybe.
And we haven't really entered the Switch 2's proper launch yet. I feel like the Switch dove right in. It goes, boom, here's Mario Odyssey and Zelda.
Yeah.
Make way. It threw, bam, here's a hard elbow to you. Smack, here's a hard elbow to you. The Switch is here. The Switch 2 is like, yeah, here's Bonanza. A couple other things. That's pretty good, but it's still like Bonanza started as a Switch game.
Yeah.
Got it. Here's Metroid Prime, that's a Switch game.
Right.
Here's Pokemon Z, that's a Switch game. Where's the first Switch 2 game?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still, and even the new Hyrule Warriors coming out, I'm very excited. Still a Switch game.
Yeah.
I want to see the first game that's built from the ground up, and I think it's entirely possible that we may see, they've surprised us before. Who knows? Maybe they're like, hey, this is the next whatever. Maybe it's Mario. Who knows what it is? And they're like, and now this generation and this party can begin, and maybe they integrate themes. They can shock the hell out of you, man.
I'd love to see it.
If there's one thing I know about Nintendo, it's to not get complacent in terms of your expectations.
Maybe like a mid-gen refresh for the Switch 2, like the DSi of the Switch 2, something like that.
Yeah, the battery is kind of rough right now because the screen is so large.
Yeah.
And to be fair, if what you want is a premium handheld experience, it's hard to beat. It's gorgeous, man.
Oh yeah, I love the Switch.
There is something to be said for making the thing a bit more portable friendly, like the Switch 1 was.
Yeah,
and I could see them doing a Nintendo Switch 2 Lite, much like they did the Switch Lite.
It'd be a good idea to throw some OS changes in there as well.
And I could see them doing exactly that because it was never too late for the Switch either. Yeah. Once the Switch 2 came out, they're like, we're going to do an overhaul of the Switch OS as well. We're going to fix XYZ. We're going to put this in there.
At least give me some fucking themes. But
it's possible. I think it's possible.
I'd like to kind of quickly rapid fire because we're getting a little low on time here. Through some honorable mentions here, because I'd be remiss if we didn't bring them up. First, I want to bring up the Satellaview. We mentioned it briefly before, and the BSX operating system that kind of
I'm extremely jealous of anybody who got to play it.
Yes, indeed. And the way that worked, if you weren't familiar, basically it was an add-on to the Super Famicom that, talked to satellites that were in orbit. And the way that the operating system worked was it was a whole town. It was called the city with no name or the town with no name. And you would basically, it was very similar in design to Earthbound.
Very Earthbound.
And you would go to, different buildings and you would go to
great music. It had that Soya Oka-esque Super Nintendo era music.
I actually have
so jealous.
I have a bootleg of the Satellaview operating system soundtrack on vinyl. I'm not even lying.
Now that's a treasure. Now we're in some Nintendo adult.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's just the shit I'm all about, Parker, is about getting about as niche as possible. But yeah.
Well, I've got some Donkey Kong Country manga down there at the bottom of my bookshelf complete with tournament arcs. So we've got some weird collectibles.
Absolutely.
But the Satellaview and their downloadable games, they also had weekly scheduled stuff with this is their early precursor to episodic games, which are going strong right now with the Dispatch. They had their own version of that with there was a Zelda 1 remake that was kind of odd.
Yeah, BS Zelda.
And some of these games had voice acting. I think there was even a Fire Emblem game that went that way. And they also had they would do I forget what you call these, but basically when you ROM hack a game and resprite it, reskin, they would do reskins of certain games. It'd be like F-Zero special with different pilots, or they'd put someone else in Mario. There was some strange stuff that they did that is completely lost to time. If they told me tomorrow that they were doing Nintendo Classics BS Satellaview or whatever.
Oh my God, that'd be incredible.
I'd be thrilled.
in heaven.
Give me that instead of virtual.
You, me, and a couple other Nintendo adults, and everybody else in the world would be like, what is going on?
You need to give us an extra $20 a month. Sold!
I would be in, actually. But we're going to fire through a couple of these. I do want to briefly bring up Super Game Boy and Game Boy Player. I don't know if those exactly count, but Super Game Boy in particular had kind of a whole on top of, that you could really mess with the games and do a lot of different stuff.
It had some juice.
Yeah, that had some juice. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a future episode. I do want to bring up the classic system. So that's the NES and the Super Nintendo Classic. Those had really playful, fun OSs, right? Like
great music too.
Yeah, great music that was written for it, and it was very nostalgic, and it really played to like the kind of like marketing that those consoles had at the time. Really, really cool stuff. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't end up going further down the rabbit hole of like redoing mini consoles with like the N64 or the Game Boy, because I think just aesthetically, Nintendo was really on something there.
I think the Game Boy is when they were like, we'd have to
just make a new Game Boy.
It would just be a Game Boy. We'd have to actually make the screen.
Right,
but, you know, I think there, you never know what the future may hold, man.
Yeah.
You truly never know. I think that could still very much happen. But I think Nintendo Classics is their value proposition right now. They're like, you go online and you get these games. But the music, I can in both of those systems that also they have a motif. There's a motif you can hear in both that are very cute. And I think it also was very sleek looking, very nice. I loved both.
They added suspend points and all this different kind of stuff, and
they had rewind for the first time. It was weird to access.
That's right.
It.
Yeah, and whenever you would like do a save point, there'd be like it would like fly in. Everything was just had personality to it, So it was really, really cool. And then lastly, I do also want to give a little bit of a shout out to the last of the kind of portable classic systems, and those are the Game & Watch systems that they put out. They put out one for Mario's 35th anniversary. They put out one also for Zelda's 35th anniversary, and those had kind of their own really kind of charming operating systems as well, with like clocks, and you could load the different ROMs. There were alarms, little mini games, lots of Easter eggs.
Some new artwork from Yoichi Kotabe, or his successor. I blank on his name right now, but for Mario with their screensaver, really adorable artwork.
Yeah. The way that the kind of like clock would play out as a, Mario hitting the blocks or whatever to change the time. And I think they both included.
We forgot to talk about the Alarmo OS.
Oh no, that's a fucking. I'm calling it at Alarmo. We can't possibly get into that. Although the Alarmo OS, it does have an interesting OS that is all done by
it's operated by rotating
the one turnstile, which you might not know this, but you know that little turny bit on the Alarmo, that's Hall effect sensor right there. So the Alarmo will never drift. Yeah. That's a little beside the point, but that is we started this being like, this is a brief history of Nintendo operating systems. I'd say this is a complete history of Nintendo operating systems.
It's interesting to take this look back and to see a kind of evolution in their thought process. And they're one of the most fascinating companies to this day for that reason. They're one of the most aspirational companies when it comes to being creative. It's interesting to see the sort of the peaks and troughs of that creativity. And I think I kind of said it earlier, but I do think that there's something I want to reiterate that I think they've stripped things back on the Switch, but also I've seen them push their game development far forward.
Right. They're kind of moving their resources elsewhere.
It's possible. I think it's entirely possible that, they expended more development team. They would bring them over and have them do this. And they're like, what if we just didn't do that? And we made it all about the games. And we've had some generational, genre-defining video games that have completely upended and not only the current state of the genres they were in, but totally redefined them and even created some new ones.
Yeah.
There were Breath of the Wild likes. That wasn't a thing. And that's one Zelda game.
No, I agree with you. And I think that there's something to be said about that. Like, because not only have they kind of moved the resources from their design teams doing operating systems, moving them to just game development teams, but also they've consolidated their handheld and their console platforms.
It's all
one thing now. So people, I think that's why you see. That's why you see the games being at their peak right now. They've improved. You do, And so I think that's definitely a really good point to bring up. And I will say, the last thing I'll say here, I haven't picked this up yet, but I did order one of the new AYN Thor handhelds, and I know that there is a Android front end that's being created right now called Isu that is it's for single screen handhelds, but they're also making a version for the dual screen handhelds. And if you like this kind of Fruitiger Arrow aesthetic that Nintendo held up until the Wii U, that's what they're doing basically for emulation handhelds, right? So it's like, if you yearn for that, keep an eye on the ISU developers. I'd love to have one of them on at some point and kind of talk about design aesthetics when it comes to operating systems. I'm really excited to get that console just to kind of delve back into that era of graphic design when it comes to OS. But I think we're going to call the conversation there. But I want to ask you, what do you think, listener? Is there anything we forgot? Any channels on the Wii that we didn't mention? Any basic features of these operating systems that we didn't shout out? Please leave it in the comments below on YouTube or shout us out over on Discord. But in the meantime, we're going to take a small break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the games we've been playing recently. So I have been mainly playing a couple games this week, and kind of I'm in an era of like 2001 to 2004 right now in the games I've been playing. But firstly, I've been playing the Final Fantasy X remaster. Randomly, I just got a wild hair to replay Final Fantasy X the other day. So I'm about 10 hours into the game right now. I'm really enjoying it. I never finished this game on PS2, so I'm finally giving it a fair shake. And I bought it on Switch like in 2017 or whenever the HD remaster came out. It doesn't have any of the quality of life features of like the PS1 games that eventually got ported, but it still looks amazing. And I think that Square actually like held on to all the assets for this one. So you actually have like high quality assets that aren't AI upscaled in this game. And so it actually looks really, really good on a modern console. So that's really good to see. Other than that, I did play a little bit of Once Upon a Katamari, the new Katamari Damacy game. And this is fabulous. I'm really enjoying it quite a bit. The Katamari Damacy games, I love that for like now like 4 different console generations, they've just stuck with a PS2 graphics this entire time in the aesthetic. But if
so is this a new? It's a new game.
It's a new game. Yeah, it's
like entirely new.
It's a brand new game that you're in like a time machine and you go to like different eras. You go to like Edo, Japan, or like the Wild West America.
A festival game.
Or exactly. So you're jumping around and you've got all these different kind of timelines that you're playing in. But it's a ton of fun. I'm really enjoying it so far. I've been playing it on Steam. Shout outs to Jeremy, who I am in a Steam family with, who keeps buying games and I just keep playing his games because they pop up on my home screen. And then lastly, I want to close with a game that I know you've also been playing, and that is Luigi's Mansion. Got added to Nintendo Classics. And I haven't played a ton of this, but I've been playing a little bit of it, and I've been enjoying it so far. You have anything you want to add about your time playing Luigi's Mansion?
Yeah, I just smashed a playthrough on Halloween. While my kid went trick-or-treating, I stayed home, passed out candy. I was wrapping up a playthrough. You can use save states now to get the gold portraits on the ghosts. Makes it a lot easier, even though it's still piss hard on like Biff Atlas and I forget the name of the dude in the basement, the frozen guy. He's the fucking worst.
Yeah.
But it's such a great game. And Luigi's Mansion, the original one, it just, it sticks with you. When it first came out, it honestly did not leave much of an impression, but with the benefit of time, it is this tight little Metroid-like that has so much personality and charm. And as much as I like Luigi's Mansion 2 and I like Luigi's Mansion 3 even more, they still haven't hit the mark in terms of the aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it comes down to not just art direction, although they greatly improved in 3, still not there. What they're forgetting is that it should be scary and not spooky. It should actually feel like that house is condemned.
Yeah.
It is a scary environment. There's an indelible quality, much like the GameCube OS, to bring it full circle. There's kind of a darkness to it.
Sure.
But more than that, I will say the actual linchpin of Luigi's Mansion 1 and why it is still hailed, and I am not alone in this. I know fans feel the same. It's the music. You've got to bring back Todaka. I know he's busy on Animal Crossing, but he needs to come back here.
Well, like Luigi's like humming the tune all the time. You know, he's like doing like little whistling, and it's like
a good motif. And they've kept that motif.
Yeah.
But it's not like nowadays, like when I first heard the music for Luigi's Mansion 2, I just felt my stomach drop. Because I was like, no, that's so Disney. Like, oh, welcome to your doom. Whereas the original Luigi's Mansion is Earth, Wind, and Fire. It is funky bass. It is outrageous synth. They're scratching Luigi's vocals in the credits. It's just
It was early 2000s, man. It was a different time.
It's wonderful. Totoka's an amazing composer. Animal Crossing is fine. Step away and come back to Luigi's Mansion for a second.
Hell yeah.
That's a great game. I'm also playing currently, and then I want to talk about some of the other stuff I've done, but just today, I'm playing Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D. People who know me at all know that I am a massive Dragon Quest fan. There's a whole shelf behind me that's just Dragon Quest stuff. It is so good. I've got a running tier list of Dragon Quest games, and 1 and 2 have always been near the bottom. There's nothing necessarily wrong with them, but they have reimagined Dragon Quest 1, where it used to be this game where it was, one of the progenitors of the JRPG. I would say the godfather of JRPGs, taking things like Wizardry and Ultima and turning them into something a little more approachable for all ages and all audiences. That's why they're so popular in Japan to this day. But they took that first game, which was a kind of party of one, 1v1 battle experience, and they've upgraded the whole thing, not only with new story arcs and new bosses, and they've completely reimagined combat by giving you abilities and spells and making you fight multiple monsters with only one character, which is to say they have noticed the thing that people do in JRPGs where they do a solo run, and they have made it a canon experience in Dragon Quest 1. It's no longer that kind of, I don't want to say boring, but I would say antiquated 1v1. It's a canonized solo run in a JRPG where you purposefully let all your party members die and only use your hero, kind of like a 3-hour run in Zelda. And it's fascinating. The strategies you have to employ, the kind of cheese you have to come up with in order to be able just to survive. Really good shit. Fantastic presentation. Haven't even touched Dragon Quest 2 HD yet, but I'm very excited. It's wonderful. I dropped a lot of coin on the special edition and made sure I got a hard copy for the Switch, but unfortunately I had a double dip and get a digital version of Switch 2. I didn't want the game key card, but it just looks so much nicer.
Yeah, well, you got a whole collection.
I don't know why they did that. It was very rude of them, which leads to the next game I'm playing, which Final Fantasy Tactics. There is a completely free upgrade to the Switch 2 version if you have a Switch 1 cartridge. I don't know why they did this with Dragon Quest, but look, I'm happy to go to the poorhouse for Dragon Quest to continue its meteoric rise in the West. I believe in Dragon Quest. It's good stuff. Final Fantasy Tactics. I'm here to say officially for the first time, and I apologize to everyone, I just don't think I like this.
Oh, really?
I just don't think I like it. And I am
Is it like visually? Is that the problem?
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a Hitoshi Sakamoto soundtrack, Final Fantasy 12, Valkyria Chronicles, the list goes on. I directed some animation for a game he was a composer on, Toa, which is fantastic little Hades-like. It's a great game. But I played a bit of the Tactics Ogre remaster, and I was like, this looks a lot like Final Fantasy Tactics. And I played it for maybe 5 hours, and I was like, I sure hope when Final Fantasy Tactics, when I get around to playing it, I sure hope it's not like this, because I don't like this. And then I played Final Fantasy Tactics, and I went, oh no! Did
you not play it back in the day?
Nope, I'm not a PS1 guy. I had an N64, but I had a friend. We would trade consoles for the summer, which was, I love that tradition. I'd be like, hey, here's the good shit on N64. And he'd go, hey, here's the good shit. Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear. This is what you're going to play. And I think he did show me Tactics back when it first came out. But I want to say I've put a significant amount of time into it, and I do want to see it through, because I will say what I really do like is the very flowery dialogue that's like, thou hast betrayed the court of, whatever. I shall have, my vengeance. It's beautiful. It's flowery. I love that kind of shit. I love the aesthetic. I love the music. I just am not digging this weird, grindy, point of no return, build your cheese machine gameplay. I just don't like it. I don't like that shit. And here's the thing. I played Triangle Strategy. I loved it. I did every path. I loved that game. And it kind of feels like I'm taking a step backwards.
Well, I feel like it's an old game. It's like they've learned a lot since that, right?
It could be better. I really don't like grinding in a strategy game. I think that the best Fire Emblem games are the ones where you kind of can't do that, and you need to just play. And I'm a big Fire Emblem fan too. Like I said, and I played Triangle Strategy and I loved it. So I'm not somebody who doesn't like tactics games. I like them. I'm sorry to say I don't think I like this one, but I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to really try to like it. but I'm forcing myself to, and I gotta be honest, I don't like doing that.
That's where
and
you
I really
really
don't
are
like
different.
hearing people say.
I'm a game dropper. I feel like I am unabashedly.
I know there's something good
can't
here.
do it.
Here's why I don't do that. I like to have my opinion backed up by the fact that I've completed something. And so there's a lot of value here. I feel like you know that meme where it's like people post in the comment section where it's like a guy mining and he walks away and when we as the audience can see that there's a bunch of diamonds. I know it's there. Anyway, I'm struggling with that one, but I'm not going to give up because I trust these people who tell me it's good and I'm seeing potential, but it's a slog, which leads me to something that was not a slog and I completed incredibly quickly, which is Pokemon Legends ZA. I don't need to litigate this thing. Everybody's already said it. Here's everything that's wrong with it.
It's a quick loop. It's a pretty quick loop.
Here's everything that's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Here's everything that's right with it. It's fucking fun, man.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's just fun. I think Legends Arceus was better.
Yeah, I did too.
I liked the vibe more.
I'd like a combination ultimately of the two
if
gameplay
you can
styles.
mash, I want to mash Scarlet and Violet scale. And frankly, better characterization and storytelling.
Graphics or whatever. Yeah.
With this gameplay and with Arceus's traversal, and I would be in Pokemon heaven.
Yeah, I agree.
Better. And I think
add MMO into that, and then I would never have to play another game ever again.
and this is the kind of thing that makes people on an official team mad at you because they're like, "What do you know?" I want to caveat this by saying I don't know anything. These guys are great. They know what they're doing. I've worked with Pokemon Company before. They're amazing people.
You say that. I don't have to say that.
please ask Monolith Soft for help.
Yes.
They're right there and they know what they're doing.
They're in the same building.
And when the Zelda team couldn't figure it out, they asked the Monolith Soft team for help. And you know what they made? Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. What was it? Splatoon 3 also has Monolith Soft help. Monolith Soft works on every game except the one that they need to work on.
They know how to do it, and I have a feeling they might ask soon.
They better.
I have a feeling that might happen. The problem is the Fire Emblem team was on death's door, and they were told, your franchise is dead. This is it. You have failed. You get one more game. And they knew, if we don't throw everything in the kitchen sink at this, we're toast. They made Fire Emblem Awakening. It was a huge hit, and it was a hit in America. Impossible. But it happened. And now they're a mainstay. They have one of the biggest fan bases in all of gaming. Fire Emblem is still huge to this day. They're still making waves because they were able to reinvent. What people don't understand is that these incredibly insular and traditional game developers will not change unless they have an impetus to. And that impetus is, you are going to be fired because you're not making money. Pokemon prints money at an exceedingly impossible rate.
Yeah.
There's just no one that competes with them. And honestly, they do it just with the dolls alone. The games is not where the money is, if you've ever seen it broken down.
Oh, yeah.
So the games and cards are big money. They do not have the incentive to make a legendary all-time game. They just don't have that yet. And this game's already doing big numbers, and I'm part of the problem.
Well, they just said they've always been a quantity over quality company, I think, anyway. But I think I agree with you. I like ZA. I was like surprised at how much
I had fun. I loved it.
Yeah. And it's like, as somebody,
that's
for me, like, that's why it's like surprising I'm playing Final Fantasy X right now, is like, I don't play a ton of, or I don't finish a lot of JRPGs. Like I get distracted or whatever. Not that I finished ZA either, but I will say the gameplay loop is much more to like my personal, I'd prefer that to the traditional Pokemon, You're
just in it. It's so fast. Exactly. And I love that you jump people from around corners. There's something so funny about hyper beaming somebody's poor, Pidgey from around a corner and it's dead. And you're like, wild. You owe me $10,000.
Yeah, it's exactly what France is like in real life. But I think with all that out of the way, I think that's going to do it for this episode, gang. Wow. Thank you so much, Parker, for joining on the episode today. I'd like to give a thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. Thanks to all of our patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to find me online, I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Parker? Where can people find you online?
If you search Parker Simmons, it'll all come up.
Yeah. You got any websites to funnel people to?
I'm on Blue Sky and YouTube and TikTok. I have a Twitter, but I don't post there.
Yeah. Probably
it's literally, that account is literally there there to make sure someone else doesn't take my name and start posting a bunch of crazy shit, because they would. I get emails every day that's like, oh, here's your code to access login, because I have 2-factor authentication.
Right.
That wasn't me.
So people are like trying to be you.
Oh, they're raptors testing the electric fence, and I'm like,
Hell
why,
yeah.
dude? What do you want?
That's how you know
nothing
you've
to
made
gain.
it, right? When you
You know, I feel that way all the
steal
time.
my
I'm
identity, daddy.
I'm like, I wish I had something more to show for it, but
Absolutely. Well,
Thanks.
definitely
But
check out Parker over on Blue Sky or any of these other websites, and check out Mao Mao as well. If you've not watched Mao Mao, what a fantastic television program. Really great work over there. I can't wait to see whatever you're cooking up next. If you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Blue Sky and Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have a website, switchheadz.com. And like we said at the top, we have a Discord and a Patreon and a Facebook group. We'll have all three of those linked in the description of this episode. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Give us a like and a subscribe over on YouTube, and tell your friends about the show.
Corner them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Do the kabedon. You ever hear of that in anime where they put the hand on the wall?
Yes,
Do that. They'll love it. People
Yes.
love that. Strangers love it. Do it to them.
Yes, strangers love it when you just put their hands.
Switch heads.
Yeah. But I think that's going to do it. We got another great episode for you guys lined up next week, so don't touch that dial. But in the meantime, gang, you guys know the drill. Be safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Why don't you create your own operating system and smack it into a modified Nintendo console?
Yeah, that almost sounds accusatory. Why don't you make one?
Yeah. What the fuck is your problem? Anyway.
Hey, actually, screw you.
Fuck guys. Free Palestine. We love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.